Hello, hi friends. I've got a couple of links to show you this morning. If I can get it to work. There we go. Okay. There's one. And I'm going to be right back. I'm going to grab this back. Let me put this one in. Paste. All right. There's two links. We will be talking about those. Hi, Samantha. Good morning. I think you're the only one. Maybe it's going to be a private Samantha show this morning. Okay. But this pickling ramps is going to take us about 45 minutes from start to finish. I've tried to cut that time down by doing some stuff beforehand. But I'm going to get started because it's going to take us a while. All right. People can jump on and then, you know, watch the video later or whatever. So I shared two links there. The first one, the Spruce Eats, is my recipe that I use, although I do tweak mine a little bit. And then the second one is a post to my blog where I talked about how to forage ramps. And we'll talk about that, how to forage them, what kind of conditions they like, the time of year, and how to sustainably forage them. I think it's going to be the private Samantha show today. All right, you're lucky. It's just me and you. All right, let's get going. So, first, our recipe. You're going to need a pound of ramps, and you're only going to use, let me pull out a really good one here. For this, you use the bulb up to like a little bit of that green, but really it depends on how big your jar is. I'm pickling them in a pint jar. Normally I do, especially if I want to give them away, because I like to make stuff. And good morning, family. Oh, hi, Rick. All right, I just got started. All I've said so far is that I have two links that I shared in the comments. One is to the actual recipe, although I tweak my recipe a little bit, and we'll talk about that. And then the other one is to my blog on how to forage ramps sustainably. I know, I almost forgot too. I was over doing stuff, Rick, and I packaging up some stuff, and then I was like, oh, it's 10 o'clock, we gotta go. But that's okay, because we record these, so no big deal. All right, so basically what you want is you need the bulbs, because we're pickling the bulbs, and we'll talk about how to sustainably forage these. This is not how you do it. I had a helper, aka the mister. He pillaged. We'll talk about this. All right. So you basically want to cut off those roots. You would I know it's kind of hard to take, to remember time and days and whatever. Like usually I post on Facebook. I'm usually like, join me at 10 o'clock. I usually post that at 9 o'clock on Saturdays. Totally forgot. So I did it at 9:30, so maybe we'll have a few other people join us. So you just want to cut that root off, and then I take off this, like it's an onion, so it has like that little skin on it. I take that off, that little slippery skin. So you're just going to, let's see, can you see me? I'm just going to take and cut that off, and then you, depending on how big your jar is, that's what I was saying. Like you can go all the way up to like where the green starts. So if you want to have, if you have a big pint jar, then you can do that. If you're doing a half pint, obviously you would cut it a little bit shorter. So, and then you're going to wash it. I have a little bit of water here. So they grow, I just noticed, oh, Aunt Betty, hello. I hope you're doing good down there in Florida. I know you talked to Uncle Jeff. We're doing good here. We miss you guys. We miss everybody. So you're going to clean it because they like sandy soil. Oops, I broke it. I'm just going to shove it down in there. That's what happens on live TV, right? Okay. So you're going to get your ramps ready. You're going to shove those in there really tight. You want to pack those tight, 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 okay? So it's going to take a lot. So you're not going to get a ton of jars. So the recipe, the guy who wrote this recipe, that Spruce Eats, they said that you don't have to sterilize your jars, but I have a problem not doing that. So this jar was already sterilized. I've already packed it. You lay it down on the side, and you can just shove them in there until it gets full, and then you turn it up, and then you just keep shoving them in there. All right, so you're going to get all that ready, and however many jars you're going to need. We have a bin full. Let me show you this. This is everything we collected. I've put water in here. They've been soaking overnight. You still have to wash them and stuff. So then you're going to save your leaves, and you're going to blanch these and freeze them. Or you can make pesto. If you make pesto, you're going to want to cut it with like spinach or arugula or something, because pesto made with just ramp leaves is going to be really powerful and overwhelming. So you want to cut that with something. To your taste, you know, maybe you want it to be a little bit more like garlicky or whatever, and if you don't want it to be so much, then you're going to add more spinach or more arugula or more something green to it. Kale would be good. Okay. Otherwise, you blanch these leaves. You're going to keep all these leaves. I mean, so what we do is we forage. I just dropped my recipe. It's not going good this morning. Okay, so we forage a lot for leaves, just leaves. So we go through and we cut the leaves. So if you have a plant that has 2 leaves, you're only going to take 1. If you have a plant that has 3 leaves, you can take 2. I still only take 1 leaf from plants. Whenever I'm digging for them, and I want them all, you know, I want the whole thing, the bulb, then you're going to, you'll see like a big wide area that has them. And I just kind of like, I get maybe 2 from one, you know, one little spot, then I move over and I get 2 from another. And I don't take more than that. And I don't take the roots, because if you leave the roots and you cut them off while you're there, then they actually have a chance to come back. If you take the root, then obviously it probably won't come back. And we're trying to do this sustainably. Okay, so you're going to save all these leaves. You're going to cut down, you know, and shove this full. You're going to clean them really well, because they like sandy soil. Let me get my recipe. All right, you're going to, they like sandy soil. It's what I just kind of discovered this year, which I hadn't really paid attention to before. And so to me, it seems like where we find them here on the river is where it's been flooded. So that's kind of a, you know, a helpful hint. I'm not going to tell you where my secret spot is though, but obviously along the river where it's flooded, where it's like gotten some of that silt and sand from the river onto the river banks, they seem to enjoy that. So, all right, we're going to make a brine because we're pickling and we want to make a brine. So this is how we end up only having to water bath can this rather than pressure can, is because we're adding salt and vinegar to this and pickling spices. So you want a pound of ramp bulbs. You're going to save your leaves for something else. Blanch them, put them in the freezer, and then make some pesto. Then you can, or you can use them just like cooking wise, like with some pasta or like on a pizza or whatever. Okay. So you want 1 cup of water. I have my brine going over here. You're going to see it in just a second. You want 1 cup of water. You want a cup and a quarter of vinegar. The recipe calls for, I believe, white wine vinegar. I don't ever have white wine vinegar. I have apple cider vinegar. So I used apple cider vinegar. You can use plain vinegar, whatever kind of vinegar you have. And then you're going to want 2 teaspoons of honey. I buy in bulk, so I always have honey on hand. And you want 2 tablespoons. Did I say tablespoons? You want 2 tablespoons. Then you want a tablespoon of salt. And you're going to put that in a pot, and you're going to get it going, and you're going to let that honey kind of melt together, right, with all that goodness. And then you're going to add some spices to it. You are going to add 1 teaspoon of mustard seed. This is where I change my recipe. I actually use more spices in mine than what the recipe calls for. So I use 1 teaspoon of mustard seed. I use 1 teaspoon of coriander seed. I use 4 allspice berries. This is very technical. 4. Don't go over. I'm just kidding. You can use as many as you want. I use 4. And then let's see. I use 8 peppercorns whole. And okay, so the recipe calls for like fresh chili or like a whole dried chili. I don't ever have those on hand. So, oh, good morning, Fred. Yep, we're just gonna pickle some ramps. Join me as long as you can. All right, so I use crushed red pepper flakes. So I use a 1/4 teaspoon of this. A quarter? Did I use a quarter? Let me make sure. Nope, I used half a teaspoon of this because it's going to meld together and it's going to become, it's going to give it a little bit of a kick. So if you don't want that much of a kick, then use a little less. But I can't remember what I used last year, so I just kind of went with a half of a teaspoon. And we'll have that recorded here and we'll know whether it's hot or not later. Okay, and then you want half a teaspoon of cumin seeds. All right, got this at the Atlanta Spice Company in Cape Cod. Okay, so once your water and your honey and your vinegar and your salt are all kind of melded together, it's over there on the other side, then you're going to add all those spices to it. You're going to bring it to a boil, let it boil for like 5 or so minutes. Mine boiled for a while because I got it ready early. You have your ramps already cut, washed, packed in here. We could probably pack a couple more in there. And then I'm going to get this in the canner because it's going to take us a few minutes. It's going to need 10 minutes. And then we'll talk about like foraging and all that other stuff, and you guys can ask me some questions, and we'll go from there. Let me get a couple more of these shoved in there. So again, you want the bulbs for whenever you're doing pickling. You're going to cut the end off, and so this kind of, it has 2 leaves. So I'm going to cut it a little high right there, okay? So you can see both. All right, because I'm cutting it to the size of my jar, and you want to really shove these in there so they don't float around. The first can that I do of the year for ramps, usually I don't pack them in there enough and they end up floating around, and you want them to be in that brine. So you're going to leave a 1/2 inch of headspace in the jar, and just so that's what the recipe calls for. Okay. I'm going to keep shoving them in there. I see a little bit of space over here on the side, so let's just keep cutting. And I'm just going through here. We have a lot of leaves down in here, and I'm looking for some of these that have like the bulbs on them. And you can see how, I'm peeling off that skin. I'm sure you guys know what that is called. There's probably some term for it or whatever. All right. And then I'm just giving it a little rinse here in the water. That's all I'm doing. Usually I just take them over to the sink like in a strainer, colander, or whatever, and do it that way, but I didn't want to leave the camera. I didn't want you guys to be lonely. I wanted you to see my face the whole time. How you guys doing? Did you have a good week? I had a tough week. Thought my business was not going to make it. Then I put out a call on Instagram, and I have 15 orders to send out. It's amazing. You guys are great. You guys are so amazing. Did you guys have a good week, though? Hey, my week started a little rocky. I did pretty good. How about you guys? Tell me about it. Yeah, everybody doing good? All right. Okay. I'm just throwing all this back in. Oh, so one of the things I want to do is I see people who sell, who actually take the roots. Like imagine if that root was on there, and take like a whole bunch and try to sell them as not just for cooking, but they also try to sell them for replanting, right? So I think what I'm going to do with all these roots that somebody, the mister, pillaged, I think I'm going to try to regrow them and possibly plant them here on the property just to kind of see what happens. I mean, we have them. It's not like, they're going to grow back somewhere like where we found them. So I thought, let's just try that. So, but if you are foraging for them where you live, or along the river or whatever, just try to leave those roots so they'll grow back. We don't want to do what has happened in the past where we just wipe everything out. All right, here's a good one. I think this is going to be our last one, and then we're going to put our brine in there. I'm going to show you how I do my canning. Okay, everybody doing good? All right, chickens are being moved out this week. Hopefully today they'll go out. They'll come back in at night because it's still a little too cold for them. They're only 4 weeks old. And then we'll get the run built, and then eventually we started taking started turning the light off, and at night. Hold on. And then I dropped everything today. I've been trying to get them off of the light completely, so they have to be on a light for a while, for like 4 to 5 weeks. But they're 4 weeks old. They're completely feathered out. They're just missing feathers on their head, so they're fine. But I turned the light off on them at night, and they freak out. They like pile into a huddle. They're not cold, they're fine. They don't know that they're fine. They're just scared, and it's funny, and it's cute, and I feel really bad for them, but I'm like, we have to get off this light, girls, because, you know, I'm not going to keep a light on them for the rest of their lives. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, it's funny. All right, let's do it. Okay, I'm going to take the lid off of this. This water's boiling, has been boiling for a while, and I'm just going to walk off camera just for a second, put the lid over there. So I have my pint jars in here, and they're covered with water. So this has been boiling for a while. Like I said earlier, this one was already sterilized. The recipe I shared with you, he's the author, I think it was a gentleman, I'm not sure now that I'm saying that, said that you don't have to sterilize them, but I kind of have to. So you're going to look for clean jars. I brought this out as an example for you guys. Don't use, like, I left the ring on this, and it probably got wet or whatever, maybe whenever I stored it, and it got rust on it, so I would not use this jar. So this jar now goes to something else that doesn't require food in it, okay? So I wanted to show that to you. So you're just going to make sure that you have a jar that's clean. These have been through the dishwasher. They've also been into the water bath where they have been sterilized. You're going to take your lids and your rings, and you're going to put them in some hot water on the stove. You don't want that to boil because you don't, the lids. Let me show you. Because of this. This is what seals, and you don't want that to boil. Okay. So, but I've had it on the stove. We have really hot water. I've had it on the stove for like an hour now at 3, and it's I can see that it's hot, but it's not boiling. Okay. And so what I like to do is, because I'm going to use this funnel, I like to always just give it a little dip down in my hot water. That sterilizes it before I put it here. Okay. It's going to fit down in there, and normally what I would do too is I would have like a ladle and I would dip it in there, but because we're only doing one jar, and you can see, let me see if I can show you, there's not a lot of brine down in there, so I don't need to ladle this out. Now if I had like a ton of brine in here, so this is what that recipe makes. So if you're doing more than one jar, you're probably going to want to double or triple that recipe, which is fine. It's easy enough to do. All right, just multiply by 2 or 3. And so anyway, this is pretty much going to fill up this one jar. So I'm not going to ladle it. But if I were going to use a ladle, I would dip it down in here. Anything I'm going to use, I'm going to dip down in here. Okay? So we're just going to fill this little puppy up. Oh, you guys, this is like my favorite way. I probably need more brine. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh, what happens whenever you're live and you don't have the stuff that you need? You don't have enough. Okay. Well, you just pretend, okay? So what we're going to do, or we can make more if you guys want to hang around. I'm just looking for one of my favorite little silicone spatulas because I've got some yumminess down in there. It won't take us that long to make another batch. If you want to see that, I can show you how to do that. It's pretty straightforward. I left out all my measuring stuff. So, let me show this to you. See? My brine only came to here. My brine needs to go, yep, my brine needs to go all the way up there. All right, guys, so hold on, cup of water. 1 cup of water into the pot. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on. I'm gonna turn it on pretty high because I wanna do this quickly, okay? So, you know what? I'm going to double this. I'm going to do 2 cups of water. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking I might need a little more than this, but not quite 2. So we're going to do 2. All right. Now we get to do some math. You have nowhere else to go. Okay, let's do it then. All right, so let's do some math. If we need, we're doing 1 1/4, 1 1/4, 2 1/2. All right, 2 1/2. Oh, hi, Debbie. 2 1/2 apple cider. Going right in. I'm going to count it out for you. 1, 2, and roughly 1/2. All right, that's already turned on, so we're good to go. Okay. 2 tablespoons of honey equals 4 tablespoons of honey. All right, let me grab this. I know, I'm being kind of silly today. I didn't quite get that second cup of coffee this morning. I got a little busy with all those orders and getting everything ready for you fun, lovely people. I just didn't have enough time for the second cup, but I'll get one later. 2. I'm just using my little silicone spatula to get it out because you know how honey is. 3. And 4. Okay. Now I need some salt. So, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to put this over in the sink. See, I must have known that I was going to need to do this because I pulled out 2 tablespoons because the honey, obviously, I can't then dip it into the salt. So, I need 2 tablespoons. I needed 1, so now I need 2 tablespoons of salt. All right, now our brine is going. Okay. Let's talk about, what do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about some ramps some more? Did I cover everything? Probably not. No lost words. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm going to take all of these and we're going to make, we like to blanch these and then freeze them, and so they're ready to go. We freeze them into little packages. We have one of those vacuum sealers, and we like to have them. That's how I made that ramp pasta. I don't know if you guys saw that. Did I share it over here? I know I shared it on Instagram and yeah, I must have shared it here and on my blog. And so that's how I just pulled out a package, and so they were already blanched because if you're going to use them in pasta, you want to blanch them first anyway. So we did that. Jeff wants to make a ramp gratin, which I don't know how to make, so we're going to try to do some bulbs with that. I still have a lot of, I haven't had the ramp pasta yet. I don't know. Just kind of, I don't know. I just wanted to, I think what I want to do is I dried it and I have it in a bag in the pantry, and I'm kind of like homemade food hoarder. So that's how we end up with a lot of canned stuff, is because I won't let anybody eat it because, you know, it takes a lot of effort to make it. So then I'm like, no, we're not going to eat it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's almost time to start making stuff again for the, you know, for the next year. And so then it's like, oh, now we have to eat all this. But like I'm almost out of jam, and it's not quite jam making time. Rick said he had a recipe for candied ramps. I'm kind of, oh, let's finish candied ramps. I'm really interested in that. So I hope he finds that recipe and will share it with us. And then quiche with ramps would be really, really good. Yeah. I'm thinking that would be really good. I need to get more eggs. I think I'm almost out of eggs. Okay. I'm going to give this a little stir. So you're going to forage those ramps as sustainably as possible. Let's talk about timing on that. This year they're late. Or early, I mean. Sorry. Whew. They're not late. Nothing's late this year. Because we had such a warm winter, they actually, to me, were kind of like at least 2 weeks early. But whenever you see skunk cabbage, which you see like really quickly, it starts poking up out of the ground and it's really, really green. That's whenever you want to start looking for the ramps. And also we noticed this year that whenever the forsythia starts blooming, it's kind of a good time to start looking for ramps. And ramps tend to grow in the same area where you have skunk cabbage. So it's not always true. Like I have seen places where there's skunk cabbage and no ramps, but I would look for skunk cabbage and then start looking for your ramps. So, did you see what this looks like completely? Did I give you enough opportunity to see a full one? This is a really big one. A lot of people like these smaller leaves, right? I like to get a bigger bulb because I'm pickling them, okay? But I believe the theory is that the smaller ones aren't as pungent, okay? So, this is what it looks like. It's in the, a lot of people call them leeks. What are these, like in the lily family or whatever? Anybody good with that stuff? So, yeah. So you'll see. And sometimes they'll have like a third leaf, you know, down in there, right? And then you have the bulb. The one way I always tell, because sometimes, okay. Thank you for stopping in, Fred. I heard you moved. I'm sure you have lots to do. All right, but thanks for stopping in. Okay. All right, I am just going to do this real quick. We're almost ready it's almost completely melded together. What was I saying? Anybody reminds me? See, I do this all the time where I like start talking about something, I get distracted and I can't remember what I was talking about. Ramps. I don't know. Anybody want to remind me what I was talking about? I need that second cup of coffee. I worked all day yesterday on orders. I had so many orders, which was fantastic. I made everything. All my salves, all my lip balms. I got to go order some more stuff. And we're going to get back to it. Going to get that the shop restocked, and then I'm going to let you guys know. I have some really fun stuff coming up. I'm not going to tell you about it because I want it to be a surprise, but I got a few little things up my sleeve, some different stuff, and that kind of thing. So, okay. I'm going to add my spices to that now. So, I needed 4 allspice berries. So now I'm going to put 8 in since we're doubling, okay? And it's not an exact science. Sometimes I just, look at that. I'm just going to throw a handful in. Done. Because I don't really like to measure. Okay. What else do we need? We needed a half a teaspoon. I'm going to leave it at half a teaspoon, okay? Just because I don't feel like I don't particularly care for spicy, and the mister does like spicy, but he doesn't really eat these, so I'm making these for me. Okay, we needed 1 teaspoon of mustard seed, so we're going to put in 2, all right? 1, 2, just so you can see what I'm doing over there, or know what I'm doing over there. All right, how much coriander? We needed 1, so we're going to do 2 teaspoons. 1, 2, and I'll probably turn this heat up a little bit just so we can get it going. My water's boiling in my water bath canner. We needed 8 peppercorns, so again, I want a little more than that. All right, I'm throwing in a little handful. I'm not counting it. Okay, now we need cumin. We needed a half, so now we're going to do a full teaspoon of cumin. Thanks to the Atlanta Spice Company in Cape Cod for having my bulk cumin and my bulk coriander. All right. We added everything. I'm going to give it a little stir over here. It just needs to boil for about 5 minutes. Okay. I'm going to turn that heat up a little bit just so we can get it going. I lost my lids for everything. Here they are. Let's put our lids back on. Anybody got anything going on over there? You guys doing all right? What else did we do? Chickens are moving, garden's getting built. I've got to go to the post office and mail out all those packages today. I'm so excited. And, oh, look, I want to show you guys this. Look at how cute this is. Look at how cute. I made this, I don't want to show you the top yet. There's a story. There's always a story. So I found this little creamer. Can you see it? There we go. Isn't it cute? So cute. And I thought that's going to make a perfect candle holder. So I put it in my custom candles, and then I, in my shop, and so I had somebody order a candle, and I had enough candle wax mixture to make one, a separate one. So I was doing the candle, and they had, one of the scents they had was cedar wood, which I don't really use that much, and so as I was putting it in, I was like, oh, that smells really good. So I had enough candle wax left over that I decided to make this into a candle, right? So I wanted it cedar wood because it smelled so good. Still smells really good. So I did everything. I wrapped it around one of my used pipettes that I wasn't going to reuse, and so because you know you have to have the wick on something to hold it, so while the wax hardens up. Excuse me. So, excuse me. I rolled it down there, and then I got ready to go to bed. I was like, well, I need to cover it up just because, you know, I don't want anything to get in there. So I took a little piece of aluminum foil and I put it down on there. And I got up this morning and I took it off and I packaged up the other candle. Came out beautifully. Went to do this one. Look what I did. Can you see that? I'm like, I can't sell that because that's the pipette. I put that aluminum foil on so tight that I put the pipette down in there and it hardened. I actually had to pull it off. I'm like, well, so I have a really pretty, really cute little candle that's ugly on top. So we'll figure out what to do with it. There's always a story around here. Okay, we're boiling. So now I'm just going to set my timer. For you people, normally I wouldn't. I would just do it, but we're doing this thing the professional way, aren't we? So set that timer. 5 minutes. We're going to put this in here. We're going to grab our lids, our ring. We're going to put it in there. We're going to water bath can it for 10 minutes. We're going to pull it out, and as it cools, you should hear it pop, okay? We'll get to that in a second. What else can I tell you about? Did you see, I didn't put it over here on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, you might have seen my one chicken. It's just so bad. I had the, so the bathroom stays pretty warm because the chickens are in there, and I had the light on for them, which we talked about, trying to take them off, and now they're all scared because it's dark at night and the sky is falling. See, I never understood the meaning of that until I had chickens, and especially whenever you have chicks, you really understand the whole meaning of the sky is falling, because anytime you do anything, these chickens are like, wow, the sky is falling. So, I have my seedlings in there that I'm starting because they need, to germinate, they need heat and humidity, so it's perfect for that. But my girls are starting to get so big that they can actually fly up on top of stuff, and the other day I had them out and about in the bathroom, and they were doing their thing. And I have craft sticks that I write the name and the date of everything on there, and I have them in each individual little cell, right? So I noticed some of the sticks are on the ground or laying like next to it, and I'm like, I know a chicken's gotten up there, because how else would this happen? But I didn't witness it, so I didn't know who it was, right? And I should have just taken the seedlings off of they're on top of the brooder, so they're flying up on top of the brooder. So I'm like, I should have just like taken it out, but I didn't because busy, whatever. So then yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I went in there. There's that little girl up on top, pecking away at my sage. So I think I'm going to name her Sage. That or tomato basil, but I figured Sage is probably a little easier. So we've got Sage, Winnie, Sassy, Gussie. I think that's it. I've only named 4 of them so far. Only 4 of them have told me their names so far. So, yeah. All right. Good deal. Okay. I'm calling this good. All right. I'm going to give it a stir. It's really boiling. Like, really boiling. All right. Ooh. And pungent. Don't lean over that. All right. You guys can see this. Ooh. Don't breathe it in either. All right. Can you see that? You see the steam coming off of that. All right, I'm gonna pour it in here. It's gonna have all kinds of yummy. Oh, you know what? People, I needed that second cup of coffee, obviously. All right, better. Okay, here we go. Let's get to it again. I'm just gonna fill that right up. I'm gonna leave half an inch of headspace. I'm going to try. I might have to take some of this out. Ow. That's hot. Okay. I'm feeling pretty good about this. So, the other thing you need to do is move those air bubbles down in here. Alright, I'm just taking a knife. I'm going to stick it down in there. I could have used a few more ramps. See, this is what happens. But that's okay, because all you do is if you get to this point and I can't, let me see if I can pick this up and show it to you guys. Okay. So, if you get to this point, like I'm able to move that around quite a bit, just cut you some more and throw them down in there, okay? You don't want those to move around like that at all. You want those to be so tightly packed in there. All right, and so I have probably about a half an inch of headspace. All right. Okay. That line usually is half an inch. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not. You can see where it comes up to. All right, so the point is that you want those to be so tightly packed in there that there's no room for them to like float up to the top, because that's just they need to be in the brine. It's kind of like my apple cider vinegar I talked about. Did I talk with you guys last week? I think I did that one on Instagram. I think. Oh, I do so many of these. I get confused on where I'm at. yeah, so I tried to make apple cider vinegar one time and I didn't weigh it down, so the apples came up and they were above the water vinegar, and so they molded. So I had to toss the whole thing out. So it's the same kind of concept here. All right, but we're gonna go. It'll be fine. We're gonna go for it. All right, I'm gonna get a lid. I always like to make sure that they're nice and that they've been down in that water. Okay. Oh, I didn't wipe it. You gotta wipe it. Have a cloth here just for that purpose. You gotta wipe off all your stuff on the top of this. I'm just taking that and wiping right around the side, okay? You wanna make sure you get a good seal and you don't wanna have any food products on where you're gonna be sealing it, okay? All right, now we're back on track. Okay. And we're gonna get a ring. We're gonna put that on there. I like to do that, and then I like to take and hold on to it and twist it. You're just gonna make it finger tight, okay? Now, if you're gonna can, you don't really need any specialty ingredient, any specialty equipment. Samantha's asking if she wants to pickle other veggies. Is it similar? It is. You're just gonna make a brine, which is always gonna be vinegar. A lot of the time you put sugar in it too, but these you don't want to be sweet. So if you're doing like a sweeter pickling brine, you want to do a sugar. But yeah, you're going to use the same kind of spices, and you're going to use vinegar because that's going to how you water bath can it. So you don't need any specialty equipment to do. I have this, but you could do a pot, like whatever pot you have. Like you have a little stock pot or whatever. Just as long as the water. So with water bath canning, they say that you don't actually have to cover your, see how those are floating up? I needed to put more in. I probably will let these sit for like a month or so, and then I might not even. I might just open these right up and eat them. But you want them to at least sit for about a month to get all, or a week, they say at the least, to get those briny, yummy flavors going, melding with the ramps and stuff. I usually leave mine for a month before I open them. Okay, but so they say with water bath canning, you only have to come up to like the rim here, right? I always cover mine. With pressure canning, you have to cover them, so I just cover them. Okay, but the only thing you really need are these grabbers. I don't know what they're really called. We're calling them grabbers because you need to be able to get into this hot water and dump that water, and then bring that over here, fill it, put the lid on it, lift it back in, and put it back into your water. So I'm not quite to over the top here, but let's, and you want to make sure that you have a full canner. So if you have, especially with pressure canning, so if you don't have a full, like if you don't, all your jars aren't full, you want to put in empty ones to make up that room. Okay, I don't have enough water in there, so let me step it back here for just a second, and then we're gonna get going. Although it's probably fine the way it is. Let's just add a little bit more water. I don't want to take the boil down on it actually, so I'm not gonna do that. All right, I'm gonna grab the cover. I'm gonna put it in there, and then what you're gonna find is in 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes from the time that starts boiling once you put everything back in, all right? So mine probably will boil pretty quickly just because I put one full jar back in, okay? And then you set your timer for 10 minutes, and that's it. It's done, it comes back out. Let's pretend it's done. Let's pretend our 10 minutes went, okay? All right, we're done boiling. Okay, great. Perfect. Then you're going to bring this back out. Okay. You don't have to tip it too much because it should be hot enough that it'll evaporate off the water from the top. And then that's it. And then you let it sit there, and then you'll let it cool down completely. It'll pop. If it doesn't pop, then you either put them in the refrigerator, eat them immediately, or over the next like couple of weeks or whatever, or you can rebatch it, which just means changing out this lid. Because sometimes like what I do is, let me see here if I have anything. I don't have anything. So normally what I would do, I label mine on top. I usually just handwrite on a label and I stick them on here. But if I don't, what I do whenever I'm done with them is I put a big X on them so I know that they have been used, and then I wash them, and then I store them on the jars. And then whenever I go to can with them the next time, these you can just put right in your recycling bin, okay? Or toss them, whatever. So that's it. That's it. We pretended on some of it because, sometimes we run over a little bit. So what questions do you have? Anything? Is it clear as mud? Look, check out those links. I talked about how to find ramps, and we talked about how to sustainably forage them. And the other link is to the recipe, and I just kind of double my stuff a little bit because I like more spice in mine. All right. Chickens are going out to the coop today, hopefully, for a little fresh air. They'll come back in at night because it's too cold for them to be out there. They're not quite big enough yet. And that's it. Plants are going to go outside. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to spend some time outside. All right. Anything else? I have a little bit of a delay with my, I've noticed whenever people are typing. Yes, they'll move around and potentially could break. So you just, normally you would have thank you for bringing that up, Samantha. That's a really good question. So normally you would have like one of those, I think I took mine back out. I don't have them. The jar holders that have the little, you fill them, and so they actually have like things in between them to hold them. And then you put that down in there. I don't do that. So do it the right way. Put the little jar holder down in there. But like I said, if you don't have, you just don't want them to be moving around whenever they're boiling and stuff, because they could like fall over, they could crack. So then you have, that's not a dumb question. No, there's never dumb questions whenever you haven't done something right. So, you would just fill it with jars. So however big your pot is, you're just gonna put in as many so they're not moving around. All right. I hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. What else you got? Is that it? We went over a little bit today. Oh, I still have my timer on. We're not doing that. Went over by 15. All right, so next week, I forget what we're doing. We might be doing pie crust next week, I think. And I'll tack the face cleanser on at the end. I just had the ramps to do and thought I would do the ramps for you guys today. So, forage them. So, like for Samantha, it's too late down where you are, but right now where we are, they're probably just starting. They're going to be ending because they've already been going for 2 weeks, and then probably farther north, they're probably just in their prime for that. So definitely, the further south, they're so good. I love pickled ramps. I do. They're the best. I've done like a lot of different things. Oh, one thing I made, one thing you can do with the ramps, especially the leaves, is make kimchi with it. There's like a kimchi recipe, and it's really good, but I eat it like a salad. I don't let it ferment, but you could let it ferment into kimchi, and then you could use it like as a relish or whatever. But I think it is so good, just like fresh. So you get your leaves and you put all, you get ready like you're going to ferment it, and then you just put it in a big bowl and you eat it like a salad. And it's so good. It is like the best thing in the spring. And ramps to me means spring. Spring's here, regardless of what the weather's doing. Once I see ramps, I'm like, it's on. We're ready. Let's do it. Okay. If there's nothing else, you can send me questions. I think we're doing pie crust next week. I'll check that schedule. I'll let everybody know. I'll put it on Instagram. I'll put it on Facebook here. And yeah. I hope you guys have a good week. I've got to get some stuff packaged up and get over to the post office before it closes at noon, so all my happy customers can have happy mail next week. And then I will do an update on the web shop, and I'll let you guys know so you guys can order some stuff too. All right? Okay. I'm going to call it. If you have any questions, just you know where to find me. I'm around. Okay. Have a good week.